welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be showing you how I'm creating one very simple piece that will help me create my Halloween costume. And all I'm using for this is a simple yard. I actually believe it's 2 yards that I purchased of this magenta-y pink fabric, as well as this amazing satiny blue fabric. So first things first, I am going to make sure I cut and layer all of my pieces wrong sides together. So one side of the satin is a little bit rougher, and the other side is smoother and shinier. So I'm going to make sure that I have the rough side up, and the cotton fabric doesn't matter all too much. If it weren't obvious by either the title or the color scheme I'm doing here, I am doing a take on the fairy godmother this year. So I'm going to layer these down, try to match up the corners, and then draw out my shape. So very simply, all you have to do is measure out the length from your shoulder to your wrist. So from all the way up to all the way down, starting at the neck. Mine's about 24 inches, as you can see here, or I suppose 62 centimeters, if that is your vibe. So all I'm gonna do is making sure I'm like within the realm of the pink square underneath, and I do kind of see like the outline underneath it. I'm gonna try to create a semicircle shape with 24 inches. If 24 won't fit, I'll probably go down to 22 because that's like just above my wrist, and we'll just see what happens. So let's get down there and get measuring. You're also going to want to go from the center point to make sure that it's perfectly even. So this is a yard, which is actually 44 by 36, I believe. So it will go up to 36 this way. And half of 44 is 22, so right here. Rough side definitely takes chalk a little easier. My cat, however, cannot be here while I'm doing this. Is that right, baby? Okay, so from the center point, up 24 inches, start this way. So obviously I'm not going to hit 24 going this way, so I definitely think I'm going to have to go back down to that 22. Alright, so as you can see, I've got my semicircle put together. It's not perfect, but that's okay because we still are going to hem it. So other things I kind of wanted to point out that kind of happened in that hyperlapse. Obviously I didn't have anything weighing down my fabric. I wish I would have done that. Probably just a little pro tip. I also grabbed a binder clip really quickly right there. And I attached it to the end of the measuring tape so that I could move it around and try to keep a relatively even length the amount of time that for the whole piece of fabric, and obviously I went all the way through, which is great. I know in the movie her sleeves are kind of this magenta color, so I wanted to emulate that with the cape, and I'm just going to be wearing a solid blue dress underneath, and I am going to be adding the hood, but before I do that I do need to cut out like a what's the word I'm looking for? Like a neck hole, I suppose. It is going to go right over the shoulders, but the neck hole is important. So first things first, I'm going to take a little measurement around my neck, and then I'm just going to cut out a semicircle in the middle in whatever shape that may be. My neck measured up to about 15 inches, maybe 14 and a half. I wasn't being super precise. And I'm going to add about an inch to that just to make sure that it's not too tight around my neck. So I'm going to cut that in half for my diameter, which is 8. And now I'm going to create my semicircle and cut that out. Alright, I'm just going to do a little bit of a test run of the cape, wrapping it around my neck really. I'm going to grab both ends. Whoosh. Make sure that it overlaps enough in the front. Yep, so I would attach it there. I'm probably going to use Velcro for this, but we'll see when I get there. So I'm going to use Velcro, and it kind of falls at a decent place, keeping in mind that I am going to be wearing a dress underneath in a similar color. So now I am going to do like a no-sew version of this, and I'm going to get some fabric glue, and I'm going to glue on the outside, but I'm going to leave the neck hole open so that I can add the hood a little bit later. I think the hood is just going to be out of this fabric. So for the hood, I'm going to be repeating something that I've done in the past with my Vulpix onesie. I've just folded this fabric in half so that I have two pieces, and I'm going to trace out the shape of this hood. So I'm going to do that now, and then set it to the side and maybe hem it a little bit before finally attaching it to the cape in the end. So here I have my two pieces of hoodie, or hood rather. Thought about lining the pink in there, but those scissors are just the worst, and I really kind of don't want to have to cut through more fabric, but I have so much of it that I think I want to use it up and not waste it. So I think I'm going to do it anyway. And I guess we'll just go from there. So basically all I'm going to do is take this, grab the pink fabric, and do the same thing. I'm going to layer this on top, trace it out, and then cut it out. Alright, now that I have both pieces of hood fabric cut out, again, the pink one got a little bit bigger than the blue for some reason, but I have right sides together, so this is the shiny side of the blue and the unmarked side of the pink, so that I can glue them together. I'm going to leave this edge free so that I can flip them around. This edge is going to be going inside the collar that we also left open of the jacket part of it, so hopefully this should work out the way that I'm anticipating. I don't know, fingers crossed. So yeah, I'm just gonna once again take fabric glue and go all the way around the edges and flip them inside out. So let's do that. Here is what the first part looks like, totally glued and flipped. As you can see, it's kind of got some layers in there, but I'm gonna probably take an iron after everything's all done and lay all these edges nice and flat, but I do want to get this done so that the cats can stop crawling on my fabric. So I'm going to flip this piece, and then we're going to glue both of them together to actually make the hood. So now both pieces have been assembled. So now I'm going to take both the blue sides, because this is the outside of the hoodie, together, and I am going to glue on the blue all the way around the back, once again leaving the front open so that we can have our head stick through, and the bottom, so only this back curve right here. So let's do that. Alright, so the hood is done, and honestly I'm really pleased with it. So I've got like my glue seam going down the back that doesn't actually look too bad, surprisingly, as well as the inner seam, which I thought was going to be exceptionally ugly as well, because I think one of the pieces is a little bigger than the other, but you can't totally tell, plus my head's actually going to go in there. Something that I really wanted to do with this hood was because in the original movie, The Fairy Godmother, you can see a little bit of her hair underneath it, so I was really worried about making the hood too big and kind of having it hang a little too much. So now this is like the perfect size for it to just kind of rest on my head. I am assuming that that all worked because I didn't add any seam allowance from my original sketches. So overall I think it turned out pretty great, and I cannot wait to add it to the complete jacket. The last thing I have to create for the jacket is the bow that fastens it together at the front. She's got a very large, like magenta pink bow. So I just have this little square of scrap fabric that I have cut out, and I am going to firstly make sure I hem both of these edges, as well as folding it up to kind of create this rectangle shape. So I'm going to hem these edges first, once again with fabric glue, and then we'll get to the construction. I'm going to turn this into a continuous loop by folding it right sides together and adding fabric glue this way. This is what it looks like flipped back with the right sides out, and just like I did in my other fabric bow tutorial, I'm folding this once in the middle and then twice so that both the pieces head toward the back. So the top piece faces the back of the bow, the bottom piece faces the back of the bow. So it should look a little something like this from the front. You can see the bow taking shape. Now you're just going to want to take another thin strip and wrap it around the center. So here is my bow, here is my thin strip of fabric, and I am going to wrap it around the front. I will glue the bottom, and then I'm going to work on the Velcro mechanism. Woo! I totally forgot that her bow had tails, so I literally just cut these shapes out of the fabric from when I made that semicircle. So this is just like an edge of the semicircle, and squared it off on the ends and hemmed them up on the insides. And so all I'm going to be doing here is kind of folding them up like I did on the top so that they fall a little flatter. And I'm honestly just going to stuff them inside and probably glue them down. You could make one like continuous piece to kind of slide all the way through, but I think this does the job just fine. So once again, folding in, out, in with a little W, and just shoving it right inside the loops that we made up there. And ta-da! We have a perfect little fairy godmother bow. I am kind of struggling to put together the mechanism, so I want to assemble the rest of the cape before I finalize my idea for that. I flipped this inside out. You can see it's got a nice, pretty even seam going on down here. And I have left this section open, of course. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to take the hood and stuff it inside of the opening here. Now I'm going to fold under all the raw edges and fabric glue around the sides to eventually attach the hood to the cape. And it should look something like this once it's all done, with the hood hanging up, pink attached to pink, and blue attached to blue. So close to the end, I can taste it. I finished off the edges. Obviously the hood does not go all the way around. I have decided to kind of change up the way that I was going to do everything. What I think I'm going to do is get some strips of the matching fabric to the bow, hem them up a little bit so that they kind of fit a little bit more like ribbon, if you will, something like that. It's really hard to see against the same colored background, but and then I'll probably attach it here and figure out some way to do it from there. Alright, I think I figured it out. I ended up going with the strips, as you can see, simply attached at the back of both sides from the extra. And I basically just kind of laid it over my shoulders to figure out where about it would lay when it was fitting the way that I wanted it to. And what I think I'm actually going to do is on the ends of the pieces, I'm going to attach a Velcro so I can adjust how long it is. And then right in the middle, I'm going to pop the bow and I can just recenter it as I go along. So I have cut out some longer strips of simple white Velcro. The backs are already sticky, but I think I'm going to take some extra glue, maybe some E6000, and attach it to make sure that it is completely secure. But yep, simply attach in that fashion. And I'm going to attach this one here so that depending on where they overlap, if I need it bigger, smaller, whatever, hopefully that should work out just fine. So take the bow and attach the bow over top of where this overlaps so that I can then take this strip off and the bow will come with it. And then when I bring it back, it'll come with it and cover up the Velcro that is not being used. So this is the dress that I've decided to wear with it. It's not perfectly color matched, but I think it is pretty good. Flip over the shoulders the way that I want. And attach the bow. And because the, what do you you can call the tails of the bow are so long, it actually covers up the Velcro pretty nicely. Yeah, and this is the fairy godmother look. I actually kind of wish these were a little bit skinnier now that I'm looking at them, but I can make tweaks and changes at the end. And let's see if I can finally put the hood up with the looseness. Yes, I still can. I actually really like this, and I definitely think it gives the idea across without being too 100% to the character. It definitely left me with a lot of room for adjustments. If anything, I actually might want to move, I might like shorten this a little bit. And I might do that with just like a simple stitch, or even like add some extra Velcro up here. That way it'll fit me at my smaller size, and if I happen to ever want to wear it again, I can always do that, and then I'll pin it up. All I need really now is a nice wand, and I happen to have a Harry Potter wand here, which isn't quite the same, but this one. So, ta-da! I'm the fairy godmother. That is all I had for you today. If you like what you saw, feel free to like and subscribe, and you will see me here next Sunday at noon Eastern Standard Time for another craft video. Thanks again, and I will see you next time.